So here we're looking at a question involving density, mass and volume, compound measure. A compound measure, first of all, to understand what that is where you've got two more units to describe a particular quantity. So if we take a look at this here, density is written as grams per centimeter cubed. So 11.34 grams per centimeter cubed. So there is grams in there and there is centimeter cubed. So we've got a compound of two measures, compound meaning more than one. So we know that compound measure problems can be tackled using multiplicative reasoning without the need to memorize any formulas. And that's the approach we're going to take, using that skill of multiplicative reasoning, which we have used in several places. Again, we're going to be using the skill of line by line maths as well. As we go along and do each line, we're going to then write down and do the math for each line. So let's take a look at the first line. It says Ibra mixes 74 grams of lead and 126 grams of tin to make 200 grams of an alloy. How we recognize this to be that compound measure question is by skim reading and looking out for those things. So we've skim read and we now know it's that. So let's go and first of all set up a particular kind of table for this. And it's all about presenting your math solution in a neat way. And these types of questions where you've got two compounds being mixed to form a third compound, it can be done using a two-way table quite neatly. So let's see, we've got lead. I'll write down here lead, and we've got tin. And lead and tin are mixed. So it says here lead and tin are mixed to form an alloy. So I'll write down here, this is what it forms, an alloy. So I'm going to form my two-way table here. So I've got lead, tin and alloy down left hand side. And I'm going to write down a few other measures along the top. Along the top, I'm going to write down, first of all, they mention here grams, which is associated with mass. I'll just make a note of the units here, grams. Let's go and put that in the correct place. So 74 grams for lead, 126 grams for tin, and then 200 grams of the alloy. Now, as you can see here, the 74 plus the 126 equals the 200. Now that we can always do that with two compounds where you've got lead and tin. You can add the two units or quantities only if it's a singular unit, grams. So we can add two lots of masses to form the total mass. Likewise, we can add two volumes because volume is measured using centimeter cubed to form the total volume. But what we cannot do is we cannot add two compound measures. So a compound measure in this case is the density. We can't add two densities, lead and tin, to form the density of the alloy, because if that was the case, we would simply add those two up, done, question. Okay, that would be too simple. We cannot add two compound measures. So you have to split them up into their individual units in order to add them. That's the key to compound measure problems involving density, mass and volume. So we've written that down. That's the first line, tick, done. I've presented my information onto the diagram. Then it goes on to say lead has a density. So I'm going to go and put density here. Now, since density is made of, as we can see here, grams per centimeter cubed, we know that centimeter cubed represents volume. So here we're going to go and add another column here, volume, and I'm going to write down centimeter cubed as my units. And I'm going to add a third column, density. Now, very important thing about this column, which is grams per centimeter cubed, is the fact that we've got a compound measure here means that we cannot add lead and tin to form the alloy. We cannot do addition in this column, so do not do that. So I've highlighted the compound measure here. So let's go back to our problem. Lead has a density of 11.34 grams per centimeter cubed. I've already got my units in my title on the top. Tin has a density of 7.31. I'll go and put that in. 3.31 grams per centimeter cubed. I've already have the units. Now remember what we said, we cannot add these two. Okay, they're the only ones that you cannot add. Whereas the other ones, because they're singular units, we can add them. 74 plus 126 does equal to the 120. Likewise, that one, add that one will equal that one, but not with the density. So here's my two-way table. I need to go and do some things here now. In order to work out the problem with any two-way table, the aim is to try and complete the whole table. Now I need to try and work out what this is going to be here, what the volume is going to be for lead and tin, and maybe for the alloy, in order to then work out the density of the alloy. So let's go and see what we might do. Whenever we see a compound measure, be it grams, centimeter cubed, or miles per hour, any compound measure, we know how to display that in a particular, using a particular skill, multiplicative reasoning. So we're going to go and write this 11.34 grams on the side here as 11.34 grams is equal to 1 centimeter cubed. Okay, so that's from this sentence. We're doing line by line. Now we can do some maths here. Let's take a look at what we're working with. We're working with lead here. So for the lead, look at your information for lead. Can we see we've got lead being 74 grams here? So what we are going to do is we're going to write 74 grams here, and we're going to try and figure out how you go from that to that. So we keep the grams in the same units, same column. So this is our multiplicative reasoning, and how you figure that out, this number is you would do 11.34 divided by 74, and that gives us, it's in terms of decimal. So since the question asks us for the final answer as 1 decimal place, we need to make sure that during the calculation midway through, our accuracy is more than 1 decimal place, so we don't lose any accuracy. So as long as we work with 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places throughout, the accuracy should be fine. So if I did that, that gives me 0.153. So what's that saying is that if I sorry, let's just check that again. 11.3. So 74 divided by 11.34. We'll do it that way round, and that gives us 6.53. So if I times by 6.53, I will get to that number. The smaller one times 6.53 gets us there. We do the same thing on the right hand side as well. So we're not using any formula whatsoever here. So that obviously gives us 6.53 centimeter cubed. So now we know that 74 grams will have 6.53 centimeter cubed. So I can go and write this piece of information into my two-way table. For lead, the volume for 74 grams is 6.53. Okay, so that was using this line. I cannot do anything else further with that. So I tick that line off. Using my line by line skill, I go on to the next line, tin. I'll make a note here. I'm working with tin now. The tin has a density of 7.31 grams per centimeter cubed. So that means 7.31 grams is equal to 1 centimeter cubed. Per centimeter cubed means 1 centimeter cubed. Then I go and look at all my information on the table, and I can see in my table I've got tin as being 126 grams. So I need to get to 126 grams for tin. Okay, so let's remind ourselves. So that was 74 grams. Let's use a different color to highlight this. We want to get to 126 grams for tin. There's 126 grams. I've written that out. Now I need to figure out how to get there. Well, to get there, I can do 126 divided by 7.31. And that tells us that we need to multiply by 17.24. And so I need to do the same on the right hand side as well, times by 17.24. 1 times 17.24 is that. Okay, put my units down so we can see what we've got here. So I now know that for 126 grams of tin, the volume is 17.24 centimeter cubed. I'll go and write that down here, 17.24. Now, we are complete more of the two-way table because we know that the alloy is made from mixing lead and tin. We can add the masses as we did, 74 plus 126 equal 200. Likewise, we can add volume because that's a singular unit, a single quantity, not a compound measure. So 6.53 added with 17.24, and that gives us 23.77. So we've added that. The thing that we cannot do is we cannot add 11.34 with 7.31 because that's a compound measure. Okay, notice this is compound measure, and I'll make a note here. Compound measures cannot be added together. Very important to remember that. Okay, so we can't just simply add that. So how can we then figure out what the density of the alloy is? Well, let's focus on this last part of the alloy, which we're given here. Now, for the alloy, we know quite a few things. We know the mass and we know the volume. So here, we're going to use these two quantities to set up a multiplicative reasoning layout here. And we use that skill. So we can then say that 200 grams, and this is for the alloy, I should add, is equal to 23.77 centimeter cubed. Very important to write down the units. Otherwise, you're saying that 200 is the same as 23.77. That's not the case. We're saying 200 grams is equivalent to 23.77 centimeter cubed. Or to make 200 grams, we need that much centimeter cubed of this alloy. Now, we want to find out the density. Now, density is written as grams per centimeter cubed. Per centimeter cubed means we need to get it down to 1 centimeter cubed. So here we're going to then do 23.77. If we divide it by 23.77 itself, it will get us to 1. We do the same on both sides. Divide by 23.77. So 200 divided by 23.77, and that gets us 8.41. I'll write that down here. 8.41 grams is equivalent to 1 centimeter cubed. I can take these two compound measure, this layout, and write it as a singular compound measure quantity. That means 8.41 grams per centimeter cubed. So here I've gone from 2 units and I've combined them into a compound measure quantity. So I can go and write the answer there, 8.41 grams, but here now I will pay attention to 1 decimal place. So it's 8.4, correct to, and we've already got the units up there. So since they're asking for the answer, you will go to the answer part of there and you will write down 8.4 grams per centimeter cubed is our final answer. Put that down in your answer. So multiplicative reasoning using compound measure, line by line maths, two-way table is a good way of representing the information here. So the skill that we used here is representing maths using tabular formats or graphical formats. So quite a few skills that we used.